Hello and welcome to this session entitled Building and Designing Your Online Course. My name is Victoria Walker and I will be serving as your facilitator today during this WebEx. I am a faculty advisor for Pearson. I have been for about 7 or 8 years, and I use my Spanish lab since its very inception. I currently adjunct teach at 2 different institutions in Kentucky. I teach at St. Catherine, a small liberal arts college, about an hour from Lexington, Kentucky, and I teach at one of the 16 community colleges in the state of Kentucky. I teach face-to-face at the community college, and then I teach online. I designed an online course for St. Catherine University, or college, St. Catherine College. So, as you can see here, I need to actually share my screen with you, and we'll get started by looking at the agenda. All right, hopefully you can see my screen now. We have building and designing your online course. A few things that we're going to do and discuss in the next hour or so are the following. We will discuss preliminary considerations for online course design. Designing your online course, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of everything. We'll do a lot of demonstrations in that segment. Instructional strategies for online courses, evaluation strategies for these courses, as well as have a question and answer time at the end. I would remind you that by attending this workshop, as well as completing a project, about a 90-minute project at the very end, or soon after you attend this webinar, you would be eligible to receive CEU credits for, say, professional faculty development. If you're a coordinator, you might require your adjuncts or TAs to watch and attend some of these workshops. There are probably about 7 or 8 that we have that are offered on a recurring basis throughout the year. And by completing all of those, it would be a pretty hefty amount of time and material and knowledge that you would walk away with, and that would certainly help your department and help everyone to be on the same page and understand what the options are here for MyLanguageLabs. So I would encourage you to do that at the very end. But for now, let's get started, and we might be able to discuss the experience and level of expertise that we've had with online instruction. I've had the privilege to design online courses and programs for 2 different institutions, and it seems to be the way that we're moving, right? We are headed in that direction. Why we're headed in that direction? Because we have students who are basically demanding it, students who are very limited on their time and their resources, and they need the convenience of online instruction. For some, it's the only way to degree completion. So we've got that pull along the way. It's kind of here to stay whether we like it or not. We could discuss the pros and cons of online instruction for, until the cows came home. That's what we say in Kentucky. But that's not going to be our purpose here, but rather we're going to say, okay, we accept this notion that there's value to online instruction, and we're being asked to do that, and then from there, how can we do that? How can we design a program and a course in the very best way, using the very best methods in order to achieve the course objectives that our face-to-face courses would also achieve? And again, there are many different reasons why you might move in this direction. Some of us start with the online digital lab, and then from there we begin scratching our heads and thinking, okay, I think I can do this entire course online, and certainly you can. Also, there's an institution called Quality Matters, and I would encourage you to look into that nonprofit organization. They kind of spearhead everything online at the higher education level, and you might be interested to investigate a little further on the standards that they've developed that help us as faculty, as instructors, to create the very best online course out there and available with, of course, the student in mind, as well as, the student as far as his or her progress through the material and achieving the objectives and having success, as well as the institutions providing for them documentation and data to support the success of our online program. So I would encourage you to check them out. Now, what do we do? How are we going to convert or redesign a face-to-face course into a digital course? The very first thing we start with is going to be the syllabus, because the standards for most institutions would dictate that if we call the course French 101, it doesn't matter how it's delivered, whether it's online, face-to-face, or hybrid. It is one course, and the delivery mode is secondary to what the objectives are. We've got to achieve the objectives no matter how we are actually presenting the material to the students. So that we have to keep in mind. We also want to maintain departmental and program consistency. All right, and we also want to give at least a little bit of thought to the textbook we choose for online delivery. Now, I've seen success with it. We just use the same textbook, right, because that keeps us on the same path. It keeps the consistency there. So whether it's face-to-face, hybrid, online, accelerated, it doesn't matter. We're using the same text, and we're plowing through the material, maybe at different paces and in different delivery modes, but it's the same material for all students for the one class, and that's what I would recommend. Let's talk about first of all, how to create a program. And I'm going to take you now to, let me pull up my, hold on here. All right, you can see that I'm at the landing page for MyLanguagelabs. And basically, if you've never worked with the lab, just even as a lab component in an existing course like face-to-face, then just very quickly, first of all, you would need to contact your Pearson book representative, and in order to obtain and solidify your account with Pearson, they'll be able to issue you your unique they can just help you with getting your account set up. I've had mine for so long that I always forget that this is the very first step. From there, when you log in, let's say you want to create a brand new course and you're going to start again, just very quickly, I want to touch upon this and demonstrate it for you. You can browse by discipline. You can browse by the actual text itself, and I'm just going to go ahead and choose Spanish, because there are several selections there that I'm aware of. You can see all of the labs that go with it. And let's say I'm going to choose Arriba, and I'm not going to actually do it, but basically I would select the program, and then it would load into my personal account. I've already done that, so let me show you what that looks like. It's right here. It's already loaded in. Here it is, ready to go. So that means I have the complete program here for Arriba, the most recent release of this digital product. It also goes with the 6th edition of the text. All right, Arriba's been around a long time. So from here, I'm now in what we call well, actually I don't have let me show you. You can do the template. This was a course that was created, but here is an example of Unidos, and I have my master template right here. You could even say here, or see that it says template. And then from there, I also have some sections that I work with. I have one that I have for fun for you, and then I have 2 that I'm currently teaching from right now. So in order to, let's say you have your template, which is, by the way, where you would do all of your work. And we have other workshops that are for you as a coordinator or you as a section instructor on exactly how to design your section. So I won't go into that, but I do want to show you how to add. Once your template is designed, you would click the Section tab, and then there's the Add Sections button, and you would simply name it, all right, like Spanish 101, and put the date perhaps on there, the semester you're teaching, the section number, and so forth. You choose the content template. There's only one. And then from there you add and close, and within the next few hours it will populate, that course will populate here in just as another section under this template. Okay? Now I want to take a look at, as you're thinking about your as you're thinking about the design of your online course, I mentioned a moment ago that you would need your syllabus to begin, and we want to try to keep all of those objectives and outcomes consistent no matter the delivery mode on our campus. Here is a quick snapshot of a course that I just designed for St. Catherine College. It's the online course using Unidos. Now, I chose Unidos because it already has I'm wanting to say backward approach, but what is the term for that? I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but it's the approach where the students are learning at home. It's really designed for a hybrid situation where the students are doing the work at home, doing all their homework, their lab work, and so forth, and then they come to class already having done all of that, and they're well prepared when they walk through the threshold of the classroom door, and then we get to practice as a class. We get to, everyone's really on the same page. They've done the work, they come to class, and now we get going with the material in a practical application manner. So that's kind of the backward approach there that we have going on. And so what I did is I took the course objectives that I have in my regular face-to-face class, so I don't teach at St. Catherine face-to-face. From other classes, I designed this, and basically most of our language classes have four or five objectives. Course objectives overall, we're concerned about grammar, structures, and vocab, listening and speaking, reading and writing, and then culture. That's just the nutshell of it. You can see here that I have methods to achieve these objectives. In other words, what am I going to use inside the course itself in order to in order to achieve these objectives, basically, and what are the students going to be working on in order to be successful in this course? What outcomes do I hope will be a result of having this objective and using these methods? What are the outcomes I'm looking at? And here they are. They're very standard. You already have these on your syllabus, I'm sure. But here we have to be a little bit more intentional about achieving those. What will I determine will be success? What metrics or measurements will I use in order to substantiate the fact that I have or I have not achieved the goals that I've set out to achieve? And you can see easily for grammar and vocab, I'm using the comprehensive final exam. Listening and speaking, I'll do the oral interview, voice recordings. For reading and writing, they will be writing for me in Spanish and autobiography. And then for culture, they're writing a summative cultural awareness essay. During the term, they're doing discussion boards with the class and so forth. I also have them doing a self-assessment using qualitative assessment using, hey, what culture did I know when I came in and what culture do I know now as I'm exiting this course? So we'll use that as well. Now, I've got to have something to aim at. So, for example, I want 95% of the students who take my final exam to earn at least a 70% or higher. All right, and I don't know, it's the first time I've used that statistic here in this class. I use something very similar to a face-to-face class, but I've structured this online class to be very fun, to be highly engaging, and to be 100% doable. As long as they're doing the work, it's a rigorous amount, but as long as they're doing it, completing it on time, they should perform very well in this course. And I needed it to be, I'm going to use the word easy, but it's not easy, but I needed it to be, I needed them to have as much area and wiggle room to succeed as possible, since this is a premiere launch and I've got a lot riding on this, and I want them to have fun and go on to 102 as well, and it to be enjoyable and helpful, and to justify their having taken it, because as you know, many institutions nowadays are moving away from requiring foreign language as under the gen ed required courses, but instead it's becoming a core class, yes, or general ed class, yes, but it's lumped under a number of other, or lumped into a category with a number of other courses where students get to choose whether or not to take it. In other words, it could be under global perspectives or diversity or something along those lines. And so we've kind of lost some of the territory there for the requirement of students to take foreign language. Anyway, all right, and for most of these students at St. Catherine, they're not going to take, they'll take 1 or 2 semesters and that's it, they'll move on. So I've got all of that in mind. So we could argue and we could discuss considerably some of these targets that I have and so forth, but for now it's my first term, I'm going to use it, I'm going to go with it, we're going to see what happens. And the great thing here is that because I have something to aim at, I'm going to hit something now, and then I can use that data to help me realize what do I need to change next time. And I'm going to collect all of that data and reports and do correlations and so forth to see what the highs and lows are, where the success points are, where the failure points are, where students struggled and where I needed to intervene a little bit more and so forth. All right, so that gives you an idea of something you need to think about at first. As you're designing your course objectives and outcomes, you can consider using Bloom's taxonomy. That's a common terminology for us, but you get some of those really active verbs and that kind of have a little meat to them that would allow you to substantiate and measure as you go along. Now, second to this, we need to figure out which, you can see all the objectives that I have and the ways that I'm going to achieve these objectives, all the resources that I will use, the methods here, but that's what you need to decide as well, okay? You need to figure out what am I interested, how am I going to do it, what will I accept as preferential or as beneficial to the students as a measurable assessment tool, and there are plenty that you can use. Now, I'm going to go very quickly to just to show you some additional methods that you can use. I'm drawing now from what's called the toolkit, which I would encourage you to use. It is an amazing document. It has so much information about implementing your language lab, and we could say this is as well, it's all about implementing your offline course. There's so much good information here, and I would encourage you to use it. And there's even a workbook that accompanies it with a lot of, check-offs and lists and, hey, have you thought about this, and countdowns as the semester goes on. Here you can see listening and comprehension or speaking proficiency resources that you may use in order to achieve your objectives just within the lab. There's so many. Here are a few for cultural awareness and understanding. Some of these duplicate, obviously. We have a little bit, not so many for writing ability, but basically you can create your own activities and have them upload documents. You can use existing publisher content, which plenty of items in there that you can use. The machine-graded SAM assignments and apply activities already have written components to them. You could do journals, diaries, and so forth. And vocabulary is out the wazoo what they can do. There are tutorials, the study modules that we have, games, extra practice activities, again, the flashcards and machine-graded or auto-graded activities as well. Same thing with grammar. Everything that we're coming at this in so many ways. So for you, you can begin to think, okay, what of these resources do I want to use that I'm going to use as method to achieve some of these objectives? Moving on from here, you might want to consider before you walk in, before you kind of come in, what are some other activities? Hold on. There we go. Here we have a description of activity and resource types. And again, this information is available to you in the toolkit. You can also get it from the Pearson website, the MyLanguageLab website. There's a link there for instructors and support. There are YouTubes, you name it. You've got it there. As you're considering your design of your online course, there's so many things there. But a few things that are very helpful in the online world, the Amplifier Dynamic Study modules are actually available on cell phones. So it's an app that students can obtain through their store on their cell phone and take with them all the time. Blackboard Collaborate, I'm going to discuss that here in a little bit, but that's a live chat that you can do. It's an instant messaging system that you can use to communicate with your students one-on-one, and this is more for their own questions like raising their hand in class or, hey, I don't know where this is, or for you to use just to say, hey, I'm checking in. Discussion boards, I'd like to discuss the discussion boards here shortly because, again, in an online environment, you do want to, in some fashion, simulate the in-class experience that they might be having, and the standard here would be to use discussion boards, which allows the students to post as well as respond to other students' posts and to have an active discussion. With flashcards, games, grammar tutorials, learning catalytics, live chat. Some of these have just launched this fall of 2015, and you would have to look into your textbook to see what of these activities are actually available for you. Now, you can go snag them if you want from other texts. You can download the other programs into your personal account, and you can share the libraries. It's a wonderful feature that we have available through Pearson. You can do that. But the live chats are synchronized voice activities that you could use to link, say, 2 or 3 of your students together in a quote chat room, but they're all at their homes or on campus or in their dorms, wherever they are. They just need a webcam, and they're videotaping themselves and speaking, and they're on target with the task that you've given them. Actually, there are publisher activities already there for you, nicely designed and set up, and then you, when they submit that to chat, comes into your instructor graded folder, and boy, you can see all 3 of them, and they're talking, they're discussing something, and it's really, really fascinating. I loved being a part of the pilot group on that. Media Share, now that's been out a long time, but it's more of a bring your own device kind of thing, and again, this is wonderful for the online classroom. Matter of fact, if I were to choose between Media Share and the existing discussion board in my Spanish lab, I would probably have a tendency to go Media Share. I like the format a little bit better there, and the way it's designed, and it's kind of prettier when you come in. There's a nice appearance to it. The discussion board is otherwise static, right, and just lines and text. But in Media Share, they can do Word, PowerPoint, Excel. They can upload videos, audio, and it's a little bit more engaging, and so that's something you might consider in your online class as well. It's good to be thinking about these things before you actually design it, and you know, as a side note, you may say, oh my goodness, this is overwhelming to me, I don't think this is going to happen. That's okay. Why don't you start the very first semester just using the basic lab as your course? Give yourself a pat on the back if you get all the assignments loaded over there, and in your parallel as much as possible to the syllabus and the objectives that you have in your face-to-face class, and then begin adding to the material and the design of your course one semester after the next after the next. Continue tweaking and improving. This is an evolutionary process. You're not going to have, chances are, unless you've had considerable online experience and you want to invest an inordinate amount of time coming in, and your institution may or may not pay you for that, by the way. So we kind of have all these different factors that we're weighing in here. But, consider what you have. Just be aware that you have plenty of resources available to you. And maybe at one point you're going to make a goal to implement one new activity each semester. We Speak activities are awesome. There's a website, it's a free website, social networking website for language learners, foreign language learners, and the way Pearson has done it is a threefold process. First, you have the students begin to think about, now how would I ask these questions and answer these questions, and what vocabulary do I need to do that, and structure, and then second to that, let me go practice with one of my peers in my classroom, and then finally, let me go talk and speak with a native and see if I can actually put this into practice. From there, the student submits to you an instructor-graded activity or assignment that details the experience speaking with a native. So it's a wonderful addition to the Spanish class, and a lot of students love it. They're so used to that virtual world, this Facebook-ish, where they're, Skype-ish. They don't have to do video or anything, but they can do audio, and they could do video if they wanted. But anyway, keep in mind here that you want to be thinking about all the resources that you want to use as you design your online course. I'm going to show you a syllabus that I have for St. Catherine. I'm going to keep going down. I'll show you one rubric. I think, let me see, I'm not sure I have that rubric in my syllabus now that I'm thinking about it. I do not. So let me take you to the course then, and we'll go find it. I'm going into my online course right now. You can take a peek at it. Oh, I know the word I was thinking of. I kept saying backward. It's flip model. That's what it is. It's a flip model approach. So this text is a flip model text. It's designed for the flipped classroom, which is a perfect segue into online instruction. So here I'm going to go into my actual course materials, and I'll show you the rubrics that I have there. or I was just going to look at the discussion board rubric just so you get an idea of, you know, discussion is important, and we want them to be engaging each other. That way they're not just some lone ranger, you know, floating around out there in some kind of virtual classroom. I'm going into folder, and I've created all this content. It's very easy to do. There's just one that we can open up here. If I can get it. How do I get it? Whoop. There we go. All right. So basically the discussion board topics here have a total of 10 points. Very simple. Student lists one new thing he or she has learned. By the way, I do have prompts for this. So each chapter has about 3 cultural sections, and with some questions already designed for me, so I don't even have to recreate that. And I just refer the students to pages and say, okay, which of these 3 topics in this chapter that relate to culture is most interesting to you, and which one do you want to write a post on? And then from there, they're going to have to tell why they chose it and why it's interesting and what they learned. Is there a controversy surrounding that, or how can they compare it to the U.S. culture? Because that's when they begin to pull away in their analysis and their synthesis, and then they begin to reflect on what they're learning. And then, of course, they have to respond to 2 other students' posts. Timeliness isn't an issue here because students pretty much have to post on time. All right, so again, the MyLanguagelabs already in their course materials, they have existing rubrics for oral interview with using ACTFL guidelines as well as writing. I believe they already have those in there. All right, now I want to show you here we have course materials, and I'm gonna back it up just a teeny bit. And you know, as you come into whatever lab you're in, today's view, you're going to present here, and you have all these tabs across the top. Course materials, basically, if you can imagine this, okay, picture yourself walking into a laboratory, which is what this is, and then in an adjacent room, there's a door. You open that, and you go directly into course materials, right? You don't necessarily have to drive the students here. I don't tend to. I put everything they need to know up on the calendar for them, so it's easy for them and they can progress in an intuitive fashion. Here we have what you'll see when you come into course materials. Now this has been a little bit tweaked because I've made some changes here. You can see that I only have the chapters that are the 5 target chapters that we have for my traditionally termed class of 16 weeks. You can see that I've shaded out or hidden all the other chapters because I want to keep things nice and clean for the students, and I don't want them to feel overwhelmed as they're looking at the material here if they happen to step over here. And it's what I would like to show you how to do is how to add information like what I've done here, classroom discussion board. So, but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go back into my dummy course for a second and show you and do it that way. That way I'm not manipulating a current course that I have going on right now in action. So I'm going to course materials. It's so easy. We just choose to add course materials. And you can see this is already a duplicate, but I'm just going to play around with it. So let's say I want to add one of those discussion topics, all right? A discussion board for my students. And so it's easy. That's what I do. I say culture in Argentina is the title, and then I'm going to give all the instructions and information there and put my settings up here, and then I save and close it, and we're ready to go. It does anything that you create copies into what's called the library. And believe me, my libraries are extremely messy. I never organize them or go back into them. I just say, okay, add and close each time, and then I know it's in there. Anytime you add any content or any materials to your course materials, it will always appear at the very bottom, and it will be hidden. So in order to reveal it, you just click on it, and then right here you can say show or hide. It's the same tab, and in this case it's going to show it because it's hidden right now. And so that discussion board is now there. But of course I wouldn't just use the discussion board as it is. Obviously I would add instructions to the student as well as the grading rubric, and so that they would perform to the very best of their ability there. So that's how to add course materials. You can also add a folder if you want. Let's say you want something like what I have here already, and let's say it's called Important Information. Here it is. Important information. And again, it's going to add it down here at the bottom. And then from here, what I would do is I would open that folder very simply. I'm going to open it. And now I can add additional information. Let's say I want the syllabus here. And in order to do that, I could just do a single file upload because I've already designed the syllabus. It's on my desktop or laptop. Browse my computer. I go find it. I add it. I title it. And then I add it. All right, so that's how you would actually upload a file. All of this, I think, is intuitive to you. And while I'm going so quickly through all of it, and you might be thinking, are you crazy? This is not intuitive. I am already overwhelmed. I want to show you one of the most important things. Well, what I think is the important thing, and it's this user guide right here. It is awesome. Even though I have been using my Spanish Lab for eons, it seems, I still go to the user guide very often because I forget things, or maybe things have changed ever so slightly. So use this user guide. You will be glad that you did. You can also easily arrange the material that you have under the materials. It's easy to do. Right here you'll see let's say I want to shove this all the way to the top. All I do is move it. Okay? I can put it anywhere I want and change it. It's easy to manipulate. Now one thing that we need to discuss, and I don't have anything pretty really to show you, I'm just going to go back to my today's view. When we think about we're creating an online course, but we're using an online laboratory, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Okay, how am I going to cause the two of those to convene? How is my language lab going to morph into a My Language course? And this is where we need to put a lot more thought, and our institutions may weigh into this decision. Some of us may teach at institutions that require us to use the learning management system of the institution in order to build the course. And everything has to be housed there, and all we do is bump to the lab in order to get the homework assignments. Some of us may be given the permission to create an entire course using the lab, and we drive the students to My Language Lab. And others of us may have to use both. I have done it both ways, and the way I'm doing it for St. Catherine's is that I have, I should probably just, let me let you peek at the course that I have at, if I can dig my way out of here. Let me show you what that looks like, okay? And so what I do is I've designed the course at St. Catherine in their Sakai, which is their LMS. Some of you are using Blackboard and so forth. But let me show you what my course looks like. And it's just the shell, and the students spend maybe 2% of their time over here, and that's it. The rest, everything else is built in the actual My Spanish Lab, everything. But I wanted to give them something because sometimes they don't get access until a week or two after the semester has begun. And I needed to have some way to document their attendance and their intention to complete the course. You know, we're all set up with that, and we have to be mindful of that. So in this case, I needed something here, and so I've done a shell. And you can see that I tried to make it, when they log in, they see something like this. There are the home and announcement, and then they see the start here. So hopefully that's where they'll start. And this is where I begin to tell them, hey, this is who I am, a little bit about me. I'm so excited. You know, I've got everything here that I'm discussing. Some of the content has actually been removed because as I built this course in the LMS, I neglected to add the photos directly to my content of my course, and in the end, students couldn't see the photos after all. But so there were a whole lot more of all my kids up here and everything. There were a lot more, but I've since deleted them because they're not functioning properly. But at any rate, again, we learn as we go, right? Here you can see that I put step 1, step 2, step 3 on exactly what they need to do. I created the initial discussion board or introduction board, if you will, in the learning management system so that I could document attendance, and so that whether students had My Spanish Lab, they purchased that or not, it didn't matter. So they would go here to do all their introductions, to do a video upload, a picture upload, or whatever. From here I tell them, look, go buy your access and then register that access. I give them some important sites here, requirements, technical support, orientation videos, and so forth. And then I also say, hey, what's next here? This is what you need to do. And I've created a tab up here called Weekly Schedule that they can also use to get a quick glimpse of what's going on. But now wait a minute. I ordered my access, but it hasn't arrived. What do? I tell them post, because that's going to tell me that you're in the class. Do the browser tune-ups. Read the syllabus. Watch the orientation videos. And then I also give them a vocabulary list for the very first chapter so that they can begin at least memorizing the chapter vocab and feel like they're doing something while they wait. Now, I will tell you that we now have temporary access. So when I design this for the spring launch, I will change that, and I will give the students a direct link to a document that they can fill out and request temporary access for MyLanguageLabs. So that's going to look a little different next time around. But the weekly schedule, you see I have the syllabus here. I have the weekly schedule, which is literally week by week, that they can, and they don't ever have to come back here because the way I've designed it in My Spanish Lab is that they're already doing these things naturally by simply clicking on the calendar and using that. I did not take the time to rearrange course content. It would have taken me forever. I did it, as a matter of fact, with Arriba, and it's a big chore, a big task to do that. That's why I went to Unidos, because Unidos is already chronologically ordered and grammatically, vocabulary, culture, listening, reading, writing, everything sequential to a natural flow in what would be happening in an online course. But I did want to list here some more of the specifics, like this is these are the objectives, this is what you'll be able to do, this is what you've got on tap this week. I don't even think they come over here anymore, but at least it's here for them. All my grading rubrics are here, as well as support and policies. Of course, I want to give them as much as I can, information that, that they may find helpful along the way. So I don't know where you are in your institution and what you have to have in the LMS and what you don't, but I also use the entire grade book. It's all in My Spanish Lab. Although I taught not too long ago at an institution where the course was built in Blackboard entirely, and they bumped over to My Spanish Lab, and the grade book had to be in Blackboard. And so I found myself duplicating a lot of efforts. I didn't like it. I did it, but I sure didn't like it. I strongly prefer the grade book that's in My Spanish Lab. As a matter of fact, at the end of the term, I'll show you something that you can do, and this is what I do to argue a little bit with the division chair or the dean to say, hey, let me use the grade book over here, please. I've worked so hard. Let me do that. Is I download it at the end of the term. It comes into an Excel spreadsheet, and then that's a document, and I upload that back to the course in the learning management system. So at the end of this term, when I'm finished, I'm going to download the 2 grade books that I have for the 2 sections I'm teaching for St. Catherine. I will load each of those respectfully up to the actual course in Sakai. So it will always be a part of that permanent record. Everybody's happy that way, especially me, right? I believe that I would still stand by for it, since this is an online lab, not an online course already, and I can't wait for Pearson to build us an online course. They're working on it. Then everything, the students are driven by the calendar. That's how I drive them through the material. I also have in my syllabus, I'll show you, I have a little, if it's not in this one, I'll have to go get it. Maybe it's in another one of my syllabus. I think it is in another syllabus that I teach from. Sorry, hold on. I'll go snag it real quick. No. hold on. I'll find another college. I'll show you a different one that I really like, how I encourage students. I didn't put it in this syllabus, I believe, because it was just slightly different, and I knew that students were going to be pulled through the material in a different way. So I actually decided not to do that on this one. I believe that was I tried to keep it very short and sweet. I believe that was the rationale there. All right, this was a couple years ago, but this is what I'm showing you. If you decide to drive your students to course materials and the course content, you're going to still have to give them a greater amount of guidance as they do that. And let me show you what I did in order to help them do that. I created for them a workflow and time commitment recommendation, and I put them through the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in order to attack or approach the material that's there. And this is one approach. And I was filling out, I was substantiating a little bit their course for them. I was using Arriba at this time. And so from here, they would start with the readiness check. They would read their text. I would give them the pages to read. They would begin to memorize and mimic. They could also download those audio media files, use their e-text if they wanted for the audio. They would have to study and, again, memorize and look at the examples, go back to the book, begin to own the material, listen, practice, mimic. Again, I kept honing in on that. And I'll show you the step. It seems to be repetitive, and it is, but I'll show you what I meant by each of those in a moment. And then they begin step 6, which is when they start submitting the activities that are due for a grade. Most students come into their course, and what do? They go right to what's due. That's all they want to know, what's due for a grade. And they work themselves in a frenzy because they see what's due, and they think, okay, that's about direct object pronouns. What's that? And then they go back and they try to find it in the book, and they're working all cattywampus, and I don't like that. I think it's a mistake for them to do that, and it causes a lot of frustration. Here's where I itemize those steps for them, and I tell them exactly what it means. Step 1, the readiness chapter, that's easy to see. Read the pages. Here's what you need to pay attention to as you read. Memorize. Use the vocabulary, tutorials, and flashcards. Now, study. What do I mean by study? Go through all the PowerPoints. Listen to these video lectures. Look at these grammar tutorials that are there for you. Step 5 is listen, practice, and mimic. What do I mean by that? Listen to those downloadable audio files. I've got a few songs that I put up there for you to help because a lot of students learn by songs, powerful way to teach language. And then finally submit for a grade these activities, all right? And then go back and review. And you can see the next week is just the same except finally they have their exam, all right? So that's one way to do it. And when you do it that way, you're going to, in your course, you're going to need to design the materials, possibly move them around to help the student to push them in that direction. What I chose to do instead was to use the calendar because it does it for me. Let me show you what it looks like using Unidos. When we come in, I'm just going to pick a random day here, the 12th of October. I could have, actually, would it be better for me to start at the beginning, yes, so you can see, this is fine. You can see that we've begun grammar, okay? So here's the presentation. It's already done and ready for them to go. Here's an e-text activity that they could take a look at. All the tutorials are already loaded. Then they get to their application assignments, their actual homework, or the SAM assignments. And then again, they do those two things about what they just learned. Then there's another grammar presentation and another tutorial, and then they apply. So you can see how the flow naturally causes them and drives them to the appropriate content, material content that they need in order to progress through the course. You want to build online community along the way. Make sure that your students are feeling connected. We talked about that as well. And those are just some, if we were to discuss orientation, student orientation, I will show you that there are some orientation videos available for the students, and I always assign those. There are quite a few. I don't assign all of them. I try to pick the ones that I think are most important. They are housed under course materials, and you have a wonderful file over here, a folder called Instructor Resources, and inside that folder you're going to find all kinds of information about those videos that I'm telling you about. And from here, assignable how-to student videos and quizzes. You got so many that you can assign, and it's simple to assign. All you do is click on the ones. You can see all of these with a little video icon here. There are a ton of them. You just click on it like that, and then you, well, I'm not in the assignment mode, I'm sorry, but here, I can go into the assignment calendar mode, and I'll show you how to load them. I load them directly to the calendar. The first thing the students do when they come into their online course is I make sure that they're oriented. They have to run that browser tune-up, but from there I want them in and active, and I want them to know how to do everything. And how are they going to know how to navigate unless I help show them? Some of them think they can do it, and they probably can with no problems whatsoever. But you can see all you do is you do a drag and drop function. That's it. Drag and drop over. It appears. Those videos that I selected are now over here. It's my insurance also when students come in the middle of the term and they say, well, I didn't know how to do that. I'm like, oh, well, I guess maybe you didn't watch the video that I assigned, or maybe you watched it quickly, or perhaps it's time for you to go back and view those, because we can't determine whether students watch what we're assigning as a video, right? We can see if it's been opened and viewed, quote, viewed, but they could click it open and walk away and go do laundry or eat a hamburger. We don't know. But at least we assign it so it covers our bases and helps them orient. Another wonderful function that we have in the My Spanish Lab, it's a free application or download under Communicate tab. You do have to request it, and that's on information in today's view. But it's an instant messaging system called Blackboard Collaborate. Do not confuse that with Blackboard, the learning management system, because it's embedded into My Spanish Lab regardless of your institutional learning management system. It doesn't matter. This is integral to the My Language Lab course itself. And you can see these are my current students, or most of them, and from here some of them have uploaded pictures and so forth, and they can open up a chat window with me, and they can say, hey, I don't get this, or I'm really struggling with this, or can we go over this exam, or whatever. So you want to be sure to do that. That'll help you with your creating an online environment for them. You can monitor your students' progress, and you would want to do that from the Today's View panel. I want to show you a few of those alerts that you have. Idle students, past students submitted, not submitted. You want to make course and student performance. You want to make sure you go over here and look at those often. This can be very helpful for retention purposes, especially those critical first 2 weeks. That's when the heat is on, and are these students going to get in and get active, or are they going to be snowballed under? And these tools and functions that we have here, alerts and notifications, can help you determine that. If you want to, I want to show you, the last thing I'm going to show you is how to create an announcement. This is another way to stay connected with your students. You just connect Manage All and then create announcement. And you're going to say who it's going to go to. A big list is going to come up, and I'm just going to do something. I don't know if it'll let me do that one. That's inactive, but welcome. Let's say I want to say something, and then I can send it as a course email. Although I don't use the email within My Spanish Lab, I actually prefer to use institutional email. I think it's a little safer, cover my bases that way. And then down here, I can say, you know, howdy, and then go on into whatever I'm going to say to them. And then you simply do create, and boom. That's another way to reach out to the students and let them know that you're actively involved, and they're going to see that there's been an announcement made. You can also do that in your LMS. I don't know what you prefer there, but you have that. You can also customize the view here. This is what I'm seeing as an instructor. It's what you will see. Students see something a little bit different. But after the first 2 weeks, I changed this. You can see it's on About This course. And then I change it over to the welcome. They can click on the welcome message, which I always put a welcome message up here, especially for my online classes. And you can see it just says, hey, students, and a few things to tell them at the very beginning and to clarify things a little bit more in case they're confused. But then afterwards, I can customize, and I can choose which one I want to be the default. And I always change it to not about this course, but I go to welcome message, and you could do it and however you want to do it. And I leave the existing welcome message that I already have. I just kind of come in here on top of it, and I bump it down and maybe do some lines across there so they'll know that was one, but here's another, and I go up above that and I put another message. And it might be a picture. I can easily insert a picture in here, just cut and paste it in, and then and students will see that then when they log in the next time. So it keeps it a little shiny for them. It shows them that I'm in the course, and they like to see something different when they come in. It grabs their attention right off the bat. All right, that really concludes our session here today, and I would encourage you to complete and submit the post-workshop project to earn the CEUs and the Acclaim badge for course design for your online course. And also, please take the post-workshop survey based on what you learned here today and helpful information. I would also encourage you to reach out to me. My name, again, is Victoria Walker. You may reach me at my email address, vwalker1@outlook.com. That's vwalker1@outlook.com. Or you can call my business cell, 502-320-1067. I'd be so happy to help you, answer your questions. I would encourage you to attend all the other sessions that are available too. Many of them, this is just a scratch in the dark here. I wish you the greatest success with your online adventure and your course design. Blessings.